Good afternoon, Anne. Could you please introduce yourself briefly and tell me a little about your professional background?
Good afternoon, Crystal. Thank you for inviting me. Well, my name is Ann Nowak. I have been teaching languages for more than 20 years now. I started teaching in company courses. Later on, I moved to vocational school training, university, and secondary school training. I have always been a fan of teaching with technology, so blended learning, incorporating games in lessons, and using Machinima in class have never been an issue for me. And next, I want to do some teaching in virtual worlds.
Okay, that sounds a lot. You mentioned technology you're using. So, which technology or online platforms do you generally use in your classes?
Well, at the moment, we are using Moodle.
Mhm.
I have worked with about 5 different platforms like Ilias, Cornelsen, Metacoon, and so on in the course of time. As
Okay.
for the technology we use, well, we have a language lab full of computers, and students have their own laptops, mobiles, and tablets, so I use them all. And in fact, I'm a big supporter of bring your own device.
Wow, that sounds great. I mean, you said you mentioned students. Do you teach at university or?
I teach at secondary school, but I do some courses at university, some special courses for technical English for chemistry.
Okay. And what is the age and level of your students in secondary school?
Well, the age is between 18 and 24. The level is A1 till B1.
Hmm.
And at university, the age is the same, 18 till 24. And the level is, of course, higher, is B2 till C1.
Okay. And I haven't asked you, I think, which languages you teach.
Well, I teach English and English for special purposes and technical English, but I have also done business English for economics students, technical English for mechanical engineers, and technical English for IT students.
Okay. So you were involved in the Machinima project in 2014. Now, have you produced your own machinima for teaching since then?
Yes, I learned how to do machinima, and ever since I have produced many, many things, especially for my students at university to teach grammar.
Okay, and how did your students react to your machinima?
Well, they find my machinima funny, and because it looks like you are in a game, um, I think it's entertaining for them to watch.
Okay, and which advantages does 3D environments have compared to learning languages in the physical classroom?
Well, one of the advantages is that you can simulate a certain situation in a very realistic way using a 3D environment without risking your health or having to pay a lot of money. For example, if I teach how to write a report on an accident in the laboratory, I can go to a sim with a simulation of an accident where the lab catches fire, for instance.
Hmm.
And then the students have to follow instructions to save their avatars and later write what happened.
Okay.
And another example is that I can simulate an international conference in Australia, and my students can meet students from other universities without leaving the classroom because we only have a 30-hour course, so no time to visit an English-speaking country.
Oh, that sounds reasonable. And in 2015, you were part of the moderating team of Machinevo 2015. So, what did you see as your biggest challenges?
Well, I had 3 big challenges. The
Okay.
first one was not to forget how to do something that I wanted to show other teachers myself.
Hmm.
as you know, I started with Machinima in 2014, so I'm not very experienced. So when windows pop up, you need to remember the order in which you do things. And when you have a group of people where each person is in another stage asking for support, even when all started at the same time, it can get confusing.
Mm-hmm.
The second challenge was trying to help people with sound problems because they used to have the viewer in a foreign language. And even if you tell them what to do, they'll have to figure out what that word means in their language. And the third challenge was latecomers who didn't do their homework, but you do have them in physical classrooms too.
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true. And have you ever had your students create machinima?
No, not yet, unfortunately, because before students can create Machinima, you have to go through lots of bureaucracy to get the infrastructure, the software, the permission, and so on.
Mm-hmm. And what are the advantages or disadvantages of using machinima videos in language learning?
Well, one of the advantages is that you can show people what you imagine, what you want to do. You can explain better if you show them things, and you can create situations for them and let them react to these situations. So it's better than in real life, I think. Also because you can simulate anything
Okay.
without danger.
Okay. And if I understood you correctly, you provide your students with your own activities with the machinima videos you show or you used, right? Or did you
Yes.
use ready-made lesson plans that were provided with a machinima other people produced?
My students have very specific needs,
Hmm.
so I always provide my own activities and my own machinima. And well, I have seen machinima made by other teachers, very nice machinima, and well, I think I'm a bit unlucky. I cannot use it, but I would use it if I had the chance.
Hmm. And how do you think machinima videos can enhance your language teaching?
Well, machinima videos are a bit like Hollywood films.
Hmm.
You can create your own blockbuster every lesson if you want, if you have the time.
Yeah.
And for example, you can create machinima with the names of your students and travel through time.
Mhm.
And you can explain better, much better, whatever you want to explain. And students don't need to imagine what you are telling them.
Mhm.
They can see it.
Yeah.
And machinima is a great way to show others what you're thinking, the way you would like something to be. So it's very creative as well.
Yeah, sounds like it. And which kind of machinima videos attract your students most?
Well, I make lots of humorous machinima, and until now they seem to enjoy that. But science fiction or thrillers are also good.
Hmm. And what would prevent you from using machinima in the language classroom?
Well, only infrastructure and technical problems.
Okay. And do you see a difference between using machinima videos created in a 3D world compared with real life videos?
Yes, well, machinima in 3D worlds look very much like games or cartoons, and when students watch those, they remember their childhood, and those are happy moments that you want to connect with learning now when they are adults.
Hmm.
And you do not get that when you watch a normal video in
Okay.
classroom.
Okay. And which issues do you see for people in creating their own machinima?
Well, apart from infrastructure, learning how to enter virtual worlds, learning how to act, well, how to move their avatars, how to talk, etc.
Hmm.
And of course, you need to buy software and you need some training. And so it's time consuming and it will cost a bit of money.
Okay. And what genre of machinima? I mean, you mentioned that before, but what kind of machinima do you prefer to use in your teaching?
I prefer comedies, but I have made some science fiction, thrillers, and crime stories as well.
And what are the main practice skills you would wish to use machinima for?
Well, the practice skills are, for example, understanding spoken language
Hmm?
and being able to talk about something that you saw, being able to write about something that you saw. So I think machinima really trains all the skills you can have.
Okay.
Um, it depends how you use it in your classroom.
Okay. And would you prefer to use, I mean, you teach in a physical classroom. Would you prefer to use machinima in the physical classroom, or can you imagine using machinima in a virtual environment?
Well, I normally use Machinima in a physical classroom, which is a nice change. And I think I would still use it in a virtual classroom to show something I'm explaining. So, and I don't see any difference. I would use Machinima in both environments.
Hmm. And how important are mimic and gestures in a video for learning a language, do you think?
Well, mimic and gestures are important, but it depends on your video because sometimes noises or voices are more important, even a building.
Hmm. Hmm.
And the avatars have got good animations too, so you can have your avatar crying or jumping or fighting.
Okay. And is that the same like in real life videos?
Well, no, as I just said, I think it's nicer because they are not real people fighting or not real people crying. So I think it's much better to have your avatars acting.
Oh, that's an interesting aspect. And what about cultural differences? Can they be conveyed via machinima?
I think they can. For example, in 2014, we produced several machinima dealing with culture clashes. Uh, we showed the different attitudes people from different cultures have towards things made comments. So the audience had a clear picture of what the misunderstanding was about.
Hmm. And how can you determine that the use of machinima videos helps students to learn better than without them?
Well, I have made the experiment.
Hmm.
For example, I can see that some mistakes will not happen again after a machinima addresses those mistakes, while they kept occurring in courses where I did not use machinima, where I just corrected the mistake. So I think students will remember better what they saw than what they are told about.
Hmm. That's very interesting. How many examples have you got? I mean, did you try that with many kind of groups or just one or two or?
Oh, I have tried. Well, I cannot count the groups, but there were many groups.
Hmm.
Yes.
Hmm. Now that's really interesting. And how do machinima videos add to the quality of language learning?
Well, as I mentioned, they are like little Hollywood films, and you
Hmm.
can have your blockbuster in every lesson. So, they make life or they make lessons more interesting. I think they motivate students.
Okay.
And they break the ice if you use them at the beginning where people don't know each other.
Yeah, that sounds very, very good. And do you use the videos in the classroom more as pair work or individual work, or how do you use the machinima mainly?
Well, I use the Machinima to introduce a topic, for
Mm,
example,
okay.
or to review a topic. I also use Machinima to make students write something or to start discussions.
hmm And do they work with them at home or in class only?
Both. Sometimes I give them homework
hmm
and sometimes I work with them in class. And normally, when I use Machinima in class, um, they'll have to work in pairs or in groups.
hmm
And well, it is different, but normally they have to work together.
hmm Well, Anne, this has been really informative. Thanks ever so much for the
Well,
interview.
thank you.